Well, good afternoon, everybody. And welcome to the 12th annual general meeting. First of all, can I determine that there is a quorum present? There's a quorum present, and you are, sorry?
Richard Constable.
Richard Constable. The seconder?
RC.
RCONSTN.
I'll just put RC down.
Willie?
Constable, I'll put down
Leave it.
Constable, in case there's another one with the same initials. What was the other one? Who seconded it?
Willie.
Wally Lee.
Right, the minutes of last year's meeting have been circulated. Are we happy that that's a correct record?
Does anybody else want the minutes of last year's meeting?
Seconder.
Anybody else for 2014?
Sorry, can you confirm, because it says 15 on it?
Yeah, that's the one you're going to use now. This is last year's one if anybody wants them. Probably went over last year, so I'm not going to give you one now.
Willie's, I'll ask for the win.
That's one we're using.
That's the one we're using today, yeah. This is last year. I just think that I was just... Anybody else?
Are we happy that they're a correct record of the meeting? Willie?
Regarding last year's financial statement, out of curiosity question, the report from the auditors, I've noticed it's not signed. It's printed, it's not signed. Surely it should be signed. Like if you look on page 4, where you've got your balance sheet, they're signed by people. Surely the one on page 2 should be signed. If anybody can print that out. But it was signed by us, yeah. You look at page 2.
Yeah.
You look at page 2.
So what's the problem?
You look at page 2.
It's not signed.
It's not signed. It's not signed. It looks like anybody can just print it out. It's not signed by anybody from
Fishers.
Fishers.
The auditors such as right there.
Oh, right.
They don't do it for the union's accounts.
They don't do it for the union's accounts.
They don't normally sign.
They don't normally say.
Copy of the report. We're happy for it. It's a faithful representation of the
I'm
report.
not
Because
about the actual report, but
yeah,
there's
there's one that is always signed by
yeah, but I
the
mean,
auditor.
yeah,
So
I
it's
appreciate
whether
what
you
you're saying, but you know, but everybody gets it, and they look at it, and they think, oh, another bit of paper come from unit to house.
Yeah, but the auditors here say he's telling you and he's...
Yeah, I understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
but if you look at page 4, it's signed by the 3 people. You know, it's such a... It might be minor to you, but if it's a proper legal paper, it should be a signature on it.
Well, that's not. I mean, strictly, it's actually inactive with the date. So I mean, to be legally binding, it doesn't have to have a signature on it. But take the point that it's actually slightly inconsistent to have one page.
On the union's main accounts, they don't get signed or anything.
Well, the union's main accounts don't get signed on that page either.
I mean, it's several hundred audit reports are probably seeing issued every year. I mean, the report generally is just dated clean as the master, and the accounts won't have all the signature threats, including what's filed on company account. So it can do. It gives more comfort to legal.
Is it accepted that the 2014 minutes are a correct record?
Agreed.
Do I have a mover? Calvin?
Yeah.
Seconder? Tony Donaghy. We come to the board report, and this is where I say thanks to you all for your attendance, and it's been an encouraging year. We've had a 9.4% increase in our membership. Now, for a credit union of our type, we've got 3.1% penetration of the membership, of the union's membership. There are lots of credit unions who give their eye teeth to have that level of penetration. Lots of the wider credit unions. Yes, you get a small credit union, like a church congregation, they'll get higher, but anything that's on a national basis, we're doing extremely well. We've got 18.1% more in our shareholdings than we had last year, and we've got a loan book of 20.5% increase. Now that's narrowing the gap. We would like to get the loan book much higher, a larger percentage of the overall than we have, but that's moving in the right direction. Now, one of the problems that we always have, that any large financial organisation has to deal with, is bad debt, and so we've had to make provision of for our bad debt, and we've got quite a large amount put aside for that. Now, we've got an operating surplus of £70,138, but we've got to make allowances from that for the fact that we will be taking up more and more of Nicola's employment costs, which have been borne largely by the trade union up until now. So that will be one thing that we've got to allow for in future. And it doesn't look as great when you take that amount out. So we've got nearly 2.69 million in our deposit and current accounts. So I'd like to get quite a lot more of that, if we can, out onto into loans, because that's where we make most of our income. So, as you can see at the bottom, our total income was 215,497, and we spent 145,359 plus 3,963 corporation tax. That's another thing that we've got to allow for from our surplus this year. And so that leads to the surplus after tax of 66,175. On the expenditure side, again, we come back to, I'll let you read it for yourself. I take it that you can all read. So the main things I would like to point out: bad debt, which we've managed to control to some degree. We've written off 13,237. That doesn't mean to say that we don't still try and get it back if we can, but ultimately we've got to say, well, some debts we're unlikely to get back. So I'd like to say thanks to the staff and to the General Secretary for all the support that we've had, and leave it up to you for any questions on the board report.
Can I, if I may, Chair, try and elaborate, because our members out there, we do meetings all over the country, great conferences, sorry, we don't call them great conferences now, organising conferences, and it's always a sore issue, bad debt. I suppose a lot of people that have been in the union and work in the transport industry think to themselves, well, why should somebody or one of us try and rip us off? Yeah. But I just want to underline the fact that we spend a lot of time chasing people who are out to screw us, for the want of a better word. because there are people who do that, believe it or not. And you know, unfortunately, some of them are trade unionists as well. Some of them are genuine, but having said that, we're not an easy touch as a credit union. We would not accept for 1 minute that, you know, we sit back and just accept the fact that, you know, there is a percentage of bad debt everywhere you go. I mean, that is factual. I mean, there is such thing as bad debt. But particularly with a credit union, it sticks in people's gullet. As a credit union, it's not a company. It's a non-for-profit. You know, but unfortunately, people do get in situations sometimes. Even genuine people do. But that's not to say even with those members, you know, we do our utmost to try and get an agreement that they will pay, you know, pay their debt. So, you know, we do spend a lot of time, effort, and unfortunately as well, we even go so far as to take a lot of these bad debtors to court. We do that as well. That is expensive too. And not only then, but even if you get a court order sometimes, they have to be chased afterwards. And we do that as well. So I just wanted to make that point, Chair.
Just ask a question. On the qualifying period for a loan is still 6 months.
Sorry?
Is the qualifying period before you can take out a loan?
3 months.
Yeah, 3.
Do we really know somebody's history after 3 months?
Well, that's not the only checks we do.
Well, I know, I appreciate that, but you don't have much background history to check if you only know them for 3 months, don't you?
Yeah, but then you can be like a bank when you're going to ever offer anybody a loan. I mean, you're never going to know somebody can be with a credit union for years and do the same thing.
Well, you're always going to get that situation,
Yeah,
I
so the
appreciate
same
that.
as with
I mean,
somebody.
but does anybody know the breakdown of new loanees who default as against old loanees? You know, long-term lenders who default. Does anybody know that breakdown? I mean, is there a risk area?
I would say it's longer, to be quite honest with you. Some people might be having 2 people working and somebody gets laid off and unfortunately they can't pay the loan. Some people may take out a loan, be with you for a year, 2, 3 years. You've had people like that as well. So it's a mixture. You can't sit down and just say it's new members because new members pay. You know, they do pay. So it just depends on people's circumstances. A lot of people go through bankruptcies, RBAs, and unfortunately in this day and age, nobody really knows what's going to, you know, around the corner. And you can't, you know, just because a person has just joined for 3 months, you need to give that 3 months, you know, to try and get a feel for them, and the other checks we do as well. So you're never going to be 100% foolproof on anything you do on a loan.
Can I just mention, in relation to that, one that I remember from a few years back was somebody who took out a modest loan and paid it back perfectly,
Yeah.
then took out a big loan and disappeared.
Yeah.
So there are all sorts of people, but we tried, and when we can chase them, we will chase them. But sooner or later, the expense of chasing is going to be greater than the money we can recover. You were going to make a point, sir?
My name's Mick Isaacs, LU retired. I don't think anybody should be beating themselves up about bad debts, because if you look at it as a percentage, it's minuscule. And there's many an organisation that give their eye teeth to have that low percentage of bad debts. And of course, as you get more deposits and more loans, inevitable, the figures are going to increase
Absolutely.
slightly. But I don't think anybody should be beating themselves up about it.
Thank you. Can I have somebody to move the board report? Either? Another one? Yes, sir, and sorry, reminded you of
Mick Isaacs.
Mick Isaacs.
ISAACS.
Thank you very much, Mick. And we move on to the Treasurer's report. Can I ask our esteemed Treasurer, Phil? Which would be easier?
I'll come over.
Okay, you can come over here.
Okay, thank you, Chair. My name's Phil Borman. I'm, like all of the board, a volunteer and assistant treasurer, and giving the report to the AGM today. Obviously, all of the detail and final audited figures are in the auditor's report, which people should hopefully have seen a copy. There are copies available in the room. And what I've done is given an overview and really want any sort of questions with regards to perhaps what we're doing with your money, and just to give you a bit of assurance. So I've broke the report down the same as previous AGM. So we've got a year on year, so 2013 to 14 and 2014 to 15 on page 4 of the AGM pack, and that just shows an overview of our investment totals compared to each year, cash at hand in bank, the income that we've accrued on the investments that we've got, and I have to say it's quite tough. We try to put your money in as many different places as we possibly can, so that we've at least got the Financial Services Compensation Scheme covering the bulk of money that we invest. By doing the investments of any spare surplus funds that we've got, that enables us to accrue some income through interest on the investments, and obviously we can put that back into the credit union, and that can pay for such things as share dividend. So you can see year on year we've gone from 2.3 million to 2.8 million in investments. On page 5 we've generated approximately 20,000 in interest on that amount. What we have done also on the loans, that's generated an income of about 190,000. And you can see the key indicators, which would be the numbers of members with shares, which has increased. The numbers with loans has increased, but actually the ratio has gone down slightly year on year. So we've got 29% of credit union members with loans. The reason that might look slightly odd is we have people that have obviously got savings and got loans, and we've got people with just savings, and we've got people that have pretty much got the minimum, and they're putting quite a bit out taken as a loan. That means that we've still got quite a bit of surplus money, and as I said, we're having to be careful with that. And we have got a provision within the overall fund that's currently at 99,000 for bad debt. It is quite a small percentage. The regulatory authority does a guideline, and they recommend that we keep bad debt at 5% or below. And we're currently running at 5.5%, but I can assure you the board are actively pursuing where we've got bad debt to get the figures back again. So that's really an overview. I'm not saying anything about the dividend because we're going to go on to discuss that later, but we've looked at what surplus we've generated, and I know the Chair will tell you what the board want to put as a recommendation for a share dividend. That's it, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Yes, Ken.
Two questions actually. Can you tell us what dividend was paid out on the Christmas side this year?
The percentage, 1%, wasn't it? Yeah, 1%, Ken.
1%?
Yes. Yeah. We've had to cost. It's in the auditor's report, but the cost. What we're trying to do is become self-sufficient as a standalone unit as we can. So our cost, paying for office, stationery, insurance, staff cost, and so on, have gone up again, because that's always been our agreement that we get a big subsidy from the trade union. But we've also got to try to bear as much of the cost as we reasonably can. So hence when we've looked at the dividends, looked at what returns we're able to get on investments, we've had to make recommendations for dividend accordingly.
The second question, if I might, Mr. Chairman. How many members have we withdrawn from the credit union last year?
I haven't got the figure to hand. It's a little bit of a misleading one. So if I look at the last month, so end of November, we had 25 join and 5 leave. So, I mean, I could tell you a figure for how many had joined, but then it doesn't really make a lot of difference because it depends how many we've got that have left. But over the year, we've increased by about 200. So you could probably say we've had a change of around 300 members, I would say, over the year approximately.
I'm looking at that from the point of view of what can we do to retain the membership. I mean, I'm a retired member, and some people come out because they have retired, where they could continue, and the funds would be available for the credit union.
Can I? I mean, Ken, those points are more about the health of the credit union rather than the treasury, which is about the stewardship of the money. I just wanted to add, Phil's said it's tough times, and if you read the financial press, the talk in the financial press now about deposit accounts, I just want everyone to be aware. The credit union can only invest in straightforward deposit accounts, which are as safe as houses. So we go for big institutions and banks. We don't go for any dodgy dealings where people might send you an email saying you want 12% on a return or whatever. We have to go for very orthodox and conservative even deposit accounts, and that's very difficult. And some of the financial press are even now talking about institutions being charged to deposit their money. So we could be facing a situation where people are getting charged to deposit money with these institutions. So that's why the returns on the deposit accounts are quite marginal, but there's no particular prospect of that changing. So Phil doesn't like to say it, but the rest of the board members and Phil in particular spend an awful lot of their time seeking the best return on these deposits. But if you look at your own investments, if you want to go and get an ISA in the high street, you'll only get 0.25% is the average that a high street bank will give you on quite a lot of money for an individual. And we face the same difficulties in just keeping this money, getting any return at all. So that's not going to change, and that's the situation we're faced with. Of course, if interest was high, we'd be struggling to pay interest out as well. So it's a bit of a cat and mouse game about finding the right place to deposit the money. But if anyone knows of a decent investment, maybe you can, apart from the 345 at Cheltenham next month, we're struggling to get a return.
345, sir?
Yeah. You're the jockey.
All too much money on that.
Follow up on that, Mr. Chairman, is I know that some of the deposits are 100,000 and some 150,000. Is there any specific reason why some are higher than the others?
Ken, yep, really we're looking at where we're getting a better return. What I do, I've got an account with Moody's Credit Agency, so I'll look at the financial stability and scoring of a particular bank or wherever we're going to look to invest, which it's about giving as much as we can, some sort of due diligence over your money and how we manage to invest it. One of the problems we've got is I can remember, I think the year before last, somebody said to me, oh, Bank of Cyprus, that's a certain, they're paying really good rates. They're paying really good rates. And I looked them up, and medium to long term, they were showing a pretty reasonable rating. 2 weeks later, they virtually went under. And they were an organisation that wasn't part of the Financial Services Compensation Scheme. So really, if we put 100,000 in one or 150 in another, Barclays don't give a very good return. I shouldn't say it on film, I don't know, but they don't give a very good return, so we've got 100,000 with them. What the difficulty I've got, I have to make sure, so like Clydesdale and Yorkshire Bank are the same organisation, trading with two different names. I can't put 75,000 of our pound in Yorkshire and 75 in Clydesdale, because if they go under, we're only covered once. And unfortunately, that's why. So Barclays didn't do a very good return, but we're getting something as opposed to having it cash at hand, not doing a lot. Shawbrook, we've got 400,000 in there. They've got a good credit rating. We get a good return on that. And that 400,000 investment's made up of, I think it's now about 5 different investment bonds, and they're staggered, so that all of the investments are staggered, so we've got a regular turnover on a monthly basis of accounts that are finishing at like a 12-month fixed bond.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Yeah, we're really one way caught between two stools here. In one way, it's good that people are not taking on shed loads of debt. And I think the reason there isn't is that jobs that were once safe, as on London Underground, now aren't. So people don't want to get into debt. So from that point of view, it's good. But as you correctly said, the credit union makes its money from lending it out.
Yes.
So one way it's good, and another way it's bad. But I can't see it changing anytime soon, as jobs right across the transport industry become more and more insecure, if they can help it.
Thank you. Can I have a motion that the Treasurer's report is adopted? Vicky? And Ken? Thank you very much. Is that agreed? Then we move on to the Auditor's report. That's the accounts have been placed before you. I'll ask Adrian if there's anything he wants to add to the report, and if you've got any questions for him.
Yeah, as stated in the document, the financial statements that are audited, our report is on page 2. As mentioned, it doesn't carry a signature, but it was signed this morning by us. It's what's called an unmodified report, which basically means that we give the opinion that the accounts that are presented with it give a true and fair view of the position of the credit union and its performance for the year. And that's effectively what we're engaged to do for the members to check the information produced by the board, presented to you here, gives a true and fair view, and that we're happy to do, and that's what our report's going to do today.
Thank you, Adrian. Any questions?
The only other thing I probably want to mention is just in terms of the accounts that it sits within, it's probably an opportunity just to say it's probably the last year that the information here that will look quite like this. The accounting standards, the framework for accounting in the UK is changing this year. So the accounts that are presented to members in the future just may well look slightly different to what's here, and they, to be honest, will be a lot more. But I think they seem to think that you're Lloyd's Bank or something, so it's going to get a bit more like that. So finding your key figures that you're used to finding might be within pages of words, but yeah, it's just this year probably the last step that looks quite like that. But we'll be working with the board, I think, to make sure everything gets in as smoothly and cost effectively for the credit union that you get sort of across to the formal presentation in the next year. All I think we really want to say is.
Thank you very much. Do I have any questions on the auditor's report? If not, do I have a move that it be adopted? Thank you. Nicola and
Isaacs.
Yeah. And we come on then to the declaration of surplus, what everyone wants to know. So the figures are there for you. The audited surplus is 66,175.
Sorry, can we have the page number, what you're reading?
I'm on page 6 of the agenda. And it's item 6. So the figures are there before you. We've got a surplus of 66,175. Out of that, 538 has been paid as dividend to the Summer Club, and the Christmas dividend was £1,617. That left us how much?
It's around, top of my head, 42,350, and I know we then had corporation tax taken off, so that's 41,911 that we've got.
Thank you. So we've got 41,911, and of that, 20,577 will be going to our reserves after corporation tax. So we're recommending
41 plus.
Yeah.
41. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
We're recommending a 1.5% dividend, 1.25% dividend on that. Are there any questions for us?
What would the total cost be?
Total cost of that will be, and it has come out,
Yeah, it is 41.
41.
Yeah, it's on there.
41,911.79.
It's got that figure on there.
So what percentage have been made for provisions then? I mean, if we've got a growth on the loan book of 20% and yet the dividend is decreasing, what percentage has been put aside for increased costs to the credit union by way of contributions back to the union?
Well, we've put in 2577 into the reserves, but we're putting into that, let's have a little look in our financial statements. Yeah, we're putting about £20,000 into the reserves. We've already got.
I think what your question is, if I understand, I think what you're saying is we've allowed for our increase in costs for things like administration and so on, the fact that we're getting less in return per pound, if you like, on investments than what we were a year ago because of the state of the money market. When we've taken all of that into account, so we put so much in the credit union in our development fund, that's for things like promote and so on, and then we have an amount that 20% of whatever surplus we agree that gets put into a separate pot for a rainy day. When we've taken all that into account, we come up with the 66,175. After the other costs are taken out, what have we got left available? I think that's what you're saying.
Well, what I'm trying to find out is what the provision is we're paying, increasing to the union every year if we're slowly working towards self-sufficiency.
Well, the board looks at its expenses every month. So there are certain expenses, legal fees and licences, software, and so it monitors its costs every month. And to be fair to the trade union, they never demand money. They don't say, give us this money for these services. So electric, light, gas, national insurance, they don't make that. We make a decision on an ongoing basis to increase what we want to give to the trade union for our member of staff and a half, I think it is.
It's my salary.
Just one salary. So when we started, the trade union was having to write into its accounts, I think one year, £90,000 that they'd subsidised the credit union on. So there isn't a formal invoice and collection from the credit union. We decide, so that we can keep a surplus and what is a decent amount of account going forward, what we can give to the trade union on behalf of the goodwill and facilities they give us. So we don't provision in that way that there's £100,000 set aside for costs. We will do that on a monthly basis. And we have tended, since the second or third year of the credit union, to give more on an ongoing basis. But that arrives at the figures that are presented to you at the end, which are roughly 2 to 1. So out of the 60,000 odd pounds there, one portion is going to the reserves and two portions are going to the members as a distribution. And that's the kind of rule of thumb we've used. It's not always accurate, because you have to go for a sort of round number of the dividends, you end up with a very strange number otherwise. So that's the rule of thumb we've used. After we've spent money on Nicola and everything else that we have, we will try to make it around about 2 to 1 to put out to the dividend. And it's getting smaller. It's smaller than it used to be, but we are paying our way. In effect, you shouldn't really say this out loud, but the trade union was subsidising a lot of what we did to get the credit union established that allowed the dividend to be bigger. So if you go to other credit unions, many credit unions that live simply on a profit and loss basis, they don't pay any dividends whatsoever. And many of them are being subsidised by councils and other organisations. So you'd be lucky in some credit unions to get 0.25%. I'm not saying you're lucky because you're with us, but it is part of the sort of relationship with the trade union that allows us to get to that position, because the union sees it as a service for the members and a benefit for the members. So we won't put aside an amount of money that says that's the provision for costs. We don't do it like that. I hope that answers the
Going
question.
on what you said, the East Sussex Trade Union, Hastings, paid no dividends whatsoever, and the Voyager Alliance Credit Union was 0.74. So I mean, no note is great, but by that, our rates are pretty reasonable.
Oh, the question on the road, the question is how close we're getting to self-sufficient.
Yeah, which is a fair question.
Not that tough.
No, we're a long way off at the minute.
It's mainly my main thing is my salary. The rest we pay is self-sufficient on paying the rest of things. So that's what we're trying to get into now. So we become eventually self-sufficient. So
I mean, you just said it was 100,000 at the start, so obviously
it's creeping down. But to be fair, there is without getting too much into the union's business. So for things like that, things that we spend, these licences and bonds and all that we have to take out, we pay for them. We are self-sufficient, but we don't negotiate the staff's terms and conditions. They're trade union employees, so it will probably always be a contribution because they're employed by the trade union and they're given to us to work on our affairs, if you like. So it wouldn't ever be that we are their employer. It's a subsidy. We're paying back part of that against what we can afford, if that answers it. So we will probably never be completely self-sufficient in an audited sense. It's more of a relationship that we're in with the trade union.
unless we get to the stage that we hope for setting it up,
where
we've got 25% of the union members in the credit union.
Yeah.
And it's important, it's important to point out as well that the biggest reason really that we set the RMT Credit Union up was to stop our members out there being ripped off by the loan sharks and the Wonders. Yeah, I know, but I'm on camera as well. So. With all these sharks out there, you know what I mean? That was the idea. It was really sort of another service that we provide for our members. So that again tries to underline, the continuity and the connection between both really, the union and the credit union.
Okay. So can I have a motion that the auditor's report be adopted?
Sorry,
Number 6, beg your pardon. The declaration that we approve a 1.25% dividend.
Linda.
Do you want to speak, Richard, or you?
No.
Richard?
In favour, good.
And who else?
Linda.
Linda Wild. Come on to the item 7, the credit committee report.
My name is Gabriel Awun, and I'm one of the credit committee members. A lot has been said already about bad debts and loan balance. We at the credit committee, our main job is to make sure that we have in place procedures, checks and balances to make sure that the loans are consistent with our laws, and if there are any defaults, they are being followed consistently. Like it has been mentioned before, the loan balance has steadily increased over the years. The figures are there in the report. I would not want to be repeating them, but there's an increase in a movement towards the right direction. over the last 12 months, we've had a decrease in the total bad debt written off, which was a 42.9% drop, which is good. And currently we have about 51 members in arrears, which is again a drop from 58 in the previous 12 months. The next thing I want to say is an appeal to all of us that we do understand that we can run into problems sometimes. I'll just urge that if you are having difficulties, it would be appropriate to talk to us so that we can see how we can look at your circumstances on a one-to-one basis and see what we can do to make a temporary arrangement. It's unfortunate that some people take a mickey of what they do and they try to rip us off, but in some cases we do everything we can to fully up to the last penny, and that includes going to the county court. And currently we have a number of cases going on in the county court that we are pursuing. In some cases we have the judgment, but again, you still have to be following it up, chasing them. So eventually the money is given up, it's paid in. We do our best in that respect, and we will not relent in pursuing every penny that is owed to us by such individuals. So that is the credit report for today.
Are there any questions? If not, can I have a move that the Credit Committee report be adopted? At the back, thank you, Stephen. Stephen Well.
Yeah, I've got him there.
And seconder?
All people we know.
Yeah.
Easy.
Thank you.
All agreed.
All agreed?
Yeah.
Agreed.
Supervisory report. Well, for most of the year I was on the Supervisory Committee, so I'll give the Supervisory report. And what we do, we looked at the applications for membership. In fact, it says here sample checking new membership applications. In fact, we checked every one. We do that very, very occasionally. We might find an error, but generally speaking, they are properly done. We've got to make sure, you've got to check that they are members of the union, that they are bona fide members of the union, and various other things to make sure that that they are that we can accept them into membership. We also cross-check all sorts of withdrawals, so that we just sample check those, just to make sure that they're being done properly and that that they comply with the rules, that the member has been in, as you mentioned earlier on, for 3 months, and that they've also saved enough to be able to borrow the amount that they are borrowing. So that's our report. Everything we found was in order. Any slight amendments were easily corrected. Any questions on that? If not,
I move the adoption.
you'll move the adoption, Tony? Will we have a seconder? Tony Perks. Thank you, Tony. Appointment of auditors. We've got a resolution that we appoint H.W. Fisher and Co. as our auditors for this year, for next year. Do we have a mover?
So moved.
And a seconder. Thank you.
So your name is sorry?
Money laundering report, item 10.
Chairman,
Yes. Sorry.
on the auditing fund, so we've got 2014,
Yeah,
15.
Yeah,
that's
so,
my
yeah,
fault.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
my fault. Sorry.
I have said, I did deliberately say for the next year.
No, that was my fault, I didn't change the year.
Oh, no, don't want to
Could I ask who was the mover, please?
Me.
The mover was Ivor. Yep.
Not Phil, Tyler.
Thank you, Ivan.
The only one for this year, Ivor, not next year.
Yeah.
So we come on to money laundering report. Colin.
My name is Calvin Thomas. I'm the Money Laundering Reporting Officer for the RMT Credit Union. All directors of the RMT Credit Union must be aware of the credit union's policy and procedures to prevent money laundering, and that's to be done by the Money Laundering Prevention Trainers Manual and the HM Manages Revenue and Customs DVD. All financial institutions must have in place a money laundering reporting officer. We're fortunate in the RMT because the members are mostly known to somebody in the union, for instance the regional secretaries and branch secretaries. So it's a close-knit unit, so we're very fortunate that I am virtually redundant in this union because most of the people are very law-abiding in what they're doing. Sometimes people will put in large sums of money as a one-off, and that's the type of deposits that I'm supposed to look at. In the main, it's always turned out that somebody has inherited money from some source or another, and by making discreet inquiries we can put things to bed then and then. Yeah? The regional organisers and branch secretaries are the people who should be informed by anybody who has any information that somebody is involved in money laundering, and forms can be obtained from this office so that they can be filled in, and then I send them on to their own authorities. As I say, fortunately, I am more or less redundant, but by law you have to have a money laundering reporting officer.
Great job you do.
Thank you. Has anybody got any questions on the money laundering report? If not, can I have a mover that it be adopted?
So, who seconded?
Anyone on the floor?
Seconder.
Linda was. Move on to elections. Now we've got 6 vacancies on the board. Now we have some 3 members, 3 nominations for re-election. That's Vicky Thompson, who was here, has disappeared. Phil Borman, who's here, and Stephen Marr, who's sitting at the back. Got another one for Carwyn as well. I haven't got his form here, but I understand Carwyn is prepared to see. Do I have a mover? Well, I've got the proposers and the seconders on the forms.
Did you mention Phil?
Yeah.
Yes.
Phil.
So all 4 of those are for board members, are they?
For board members, yes.
6 vacancies.
Yeah.
We've only got one down on here.
Yes, the others have come separately, yeah. But they are all, in fact, apart from Stephen, who will be a new member, they're existing members of the board. Now we will still have 2 vacancies. Yes, Nicola.
There'll be more if anybody does want to stand. As assistant, it's always good to have 2 people in one position.
How do you mean in 2? We've
So
got vacancies for six members of the board.
Yes.
But so we've got 4 nominations if we include Carwyn in. Is there anybody else who would either like to or would like to nominate somebody to come onto the board of directors? What we do, if I can tell you, we meet once every month. On the 3rd, it will from next year be the 3rd Thursday of the month at 11:30. and so we have sometimes had problems in getting a quorum, which is one more than half of the members of the board. But if you'd like to give that commitment, we'd love to welcome you along. It's interesting, you aren't going to make any money. The most you can claim is your, if you lose time, then I think we can claim your time. But basically, it's your fares. That's it.
Will you get a
Your
cup of
travelling
tea?
expense. You get a cup of tea. Yeah.
Only if you go to the cafe and buy it yourself.
Very nice one over the road there.
Yeah.
Are these specific jobs or positions on the board?
We do have specific jobs, so we have the treasurer. What is useful to do is to have deputies. So you would possibly come on, if you came on, you could volunteer to assist. We've got vacancies at the moment for on the
Credit committee.
credit committee.
So yes, there are, but you don't necessarily have to pick one of those up straight away if you're coming in new.
You basically will come in and we'll have a discussion and see, obviously, one of your interest line, obviously, for you to be able to deal with that certain department, whether you feel you're capable of doing it, and also do some training to be able to do that, because you can't be expected to do the role and give the commitment, and it is a voluntary job, and obviously, as you were saying, that you have your fares paid, not time, it's fares paid. And if somebody was travelling from up north, they would have obviously more for their food and things like that, because it's a travel distance. But that's about it. But
That's about it, yeah.
Somebody
Travel.
would come in, and basically at the end of the day, if they were interested, come in, we'll have a discussion, go over things, and try and fit them in, which is a suitable position for them. Because there's no point in me putting them into doing accounts if you can't do any. Or,
You're not going to get rich by coming on there, but it gives you a great amount of job satisfaction to do it.
Some very nice people. And as far as starting time, what's that going to
11:30 on a Thursday.
So I just have to work out what time we'll have to get up in the
But-
morning to get here.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, if you were doing something like a supervisory, there would have to be, say, there was two of you or yourself. That means a commitment once a month coming into the office. So that's another story, because he's just talking about the board meetings, which you have to attend 4 to stay on the board as a board of directors. You don't have to be at every single one, so you have to do 4 within that the year period. You have to be, and the AGM, you need to be there. But for actually doing the job role, or depending, like the credit committee, it's once a month you need to come in, because it's chasing debts, it's getting contact with courts, it's a lot of work, at least doing a good half day. So it depends on how, your experience, how much time you've got. So that's why if you were interested, it would have to be something that, you need to be able to see a bunch of times in
When did you say you meet?
On the third Thursday in the month at 11:30.
How many vacancies are there?
2.
I'll put myself forward.
So we've got 2 volunteers. Can you let Nikki have your details ASAP? Because we're going over to a new system. In the past, you would submit your name to the Treasury or to the FSA for approval, so to make sure that you're a fit and proper person to do it. But from the new year, we will have to do it, and we will have to get the approval, and we're going to have to pay for that rather than the Treasury paying for it. So if we can get you on under the old scheme this year, then you can be what they call grandfathered across onto the new system. You can not quite Tupi, no, but you can be grandfathered across, and the Treasury will pay for the cost, not us.
Or grandmothered.
Yeah, good point. Grandparented.
Grandparent. But if you could let Nikki know,
Yeah.
and we look forward to seeing you on the third Thursday in January. That would fill the vacancies. But if you've got another volunteer, then we'll have an election.
So can we clarify who's standing in, because we need to approve this, don't we?
Yes.
Tony Purvis, Bolton Branch.
KES, is it?
PERKS.
BLKS.
Right. And
Richard Constable, Deptford Branch.
Sorry, didn't catch that.
It's in that name.
right, that's that.
Here's those different t-shirts.
We meet at Unity House. Normally we meet in the meeting room in the basement.
I've got the forms here. Shall I hand them out or do them afterwards? After the yes, the forms you fill out.
Good idea.
Yep.
Do you need my details? Do you still need my details?
You have to have them filled out by law. You know,
Yeah, but there's two people already in it.
no, there's
No.
always more positions, seriously.
There is.
But
Yeah,
I say there's two people got in, taking it out, so.
okay.
Doesn't matter, does it?
No, because there's also,
There's another form here.
but there's also for the supervisory, so,
There's one we have for the supervisory committee. I have one nomination for Colin Sharp, who is already on the committee. Do we have another? We should have another.
Yeah, do you want to put that? Where's the
Volunteer?
supervisory form? Please.
Supervisory. Have you got a
We've got board of directors.
form for the supervisor?
No,
Well
someone's
done.
taken all mine
got
from
one.
there.
Just have a look quick.
Oh, you've got
We've got to do number 11. We've got to move in second still, haven't we?
Yes.
Before we get to 12.
Can we move and second the two members for the all the members for the board of directors? Carwyn says, and Phil. And Ivor, beg his pardon. He's got it.
Who seconded it?
Ivor.
Ivor.
He's catching, yeah.
I thought it was Phil who said something.
No.
Phil. And for the supervisory committee, can we also have Carwyn and
Me.
Gabriel? Thank you. So that brings us to the end of the business. If there is no other business, can I?
I've just got one small piece of other business. There's a purely practical thing. We live more and more online now. When you put money in, works well, you can do it. But the problem with here is that for some reason the postal service seems to be really bad. And sometimes you send off for a withdrawal and 2, even 3 days later, sometimes it hasn't appeared. And I was just wondering if there would be some way we could work towards getting online withdrawals.
They do at the moment, person can scan the withdrawal form and just send it to us as an attachment. They don't have to send it by post.
Okay, fair enough.
It's because we have to have a signature.
Fair enough. Yep.
I'm informed.
Can we clarify who's actually stood down this year?
I'm informed that